first of all, I want to address the issue that the Deputy Premier and the Chief Health Officer spoke about this morning about our new 2 confirmed cases. First of all, let me say I'm absolutely furious that this has happened, that these 2 people have gone to Victoria, have come back and have been given to authorities misleading information. There will be a thorough police investigation here, but now we have to act as a community, and in the areas where the Chief Health Officer says need to be closed, will be closed. And I urge people in those areas, when that list goes out later on today, to please ensure that if you are feeling sick, you must go and get tested. It is incredibly important now more than ever. If you are feeling sick, you must go and get tested. So today I can also confirm that I've also spoken with the Deputy Premier and the Chief Health Officer, and Queensland will now be declaring Greater Sydney a COVID-19 hotspot. There has been more outbreaks in other parts of Greater Sydney, and that will now become a COVID declared hotspot, taking effect from 1 a.m. on Saturday morning. We have done this to ensure that we give notice to Queenslanders that may want to return home. And I also want to say now that it is going to cause an inconvenience to families, and I know there may be a lot of events that are planned over the next few days, few weeks, but it is too important. We must protect Queenslanders. So your safety comes first, and we are in extraordinary times at the moment, and we have to do everything we can. So that will take effect 1 a.m. Saturday morning. So as I said yesterday, Queenslanders should not be travelling to Sydney. The Greater Sydney area will encompass 34 local government areas. So that will be 31 new areas plus the 3 existing areas. So we have to act swiftly here, and that is exactly what my government is doing. Are there any questions on those matters, and then we can move on to Bundaberg issues?
What will it take to reclose Queensland's borders, and how much of New South Wales has declared a hotspot for this to happen?
Okay, so we have a hard border closure with Victoria, and what is extremely disappointing is that these 2 people went to Victoria. That's what they did. And now we have to act swiftly and quickly. And let me assure Queenslanders that we have been preparing for these scenarios. We have done this before, and we will do it again. But because of the negligent actions of these 2, we now have to do a lot of contact tracing, and it is going to be an inconvenience to many people. But it has to be done, and we will do that. As I said, we are monitoring the situation in New South Wales every single day. I want to assure Queenslanders. Now, we have been taking the Chief Health Officer's advice every step of the way during this pandemic, and it has stood Queensland in very good stead, and we will continue to do that. So when the Chief Health Officer advises the Queensland Government, advises myself to close the border, we will close the border. So we will be monitoring very carefully, and the signs that we would be looking for is further outbreaks of community transmission in areas outside of Greater Sydney.
What would the border closures mean for tourism and business here?
This is going to have an impact on some of our tourism industry. So we will be speaking with our tourism leaders, but as we know, Queenslanders' health comes first. We must protect Queenslanders' health. And what I'm seeing at the moment, and I've been seeing this as I've travelled across the length and breadth of this state, is that Queenslanders are out there supporting Queenslanders, and Queenslanders like their lifestyle, and because of our health response, it has meant that Queenslanders can go about basically their normal lives. They can go to work, they can go to cafes, they can go to restaurants, and they can go to holidays. But we do not want a second wave here. We do not want widespread community transmission. So let me say the next 24 to 48 hours is very crucial here in Queensland, and that is because we need to be making sure that any of those people who may have come into contact with the 2 confirmed cases need to go into quarantine and also need to be tested. So we will be putting out that public information today, and I please urge the media to distribute that public information far and wide. I also know there are a lot of community networks out there as well. I'm asking the community networks to publish that information as well. If we all do that, we will continue to be safe. And the Chief Health Officer, we've had meetings this morning. The Chief Health Officer, the Police, the Deputy Police Commissioner, the Deputy Premier, myself, my Director General, Minister Hinchcliffe was on the phone line as well. We are acting very swiftly here. Clinics are being set up, the colleges is being closed, fever clinics are being set up. We are acting swiftly, and that is exactly what we have been prepared for, and that is exactly what we are doing.
So
What
you
more
don't
will
think
be
it's
done
enough
to
with
ensure
overreaction?
that this message does sink in, that people can't just come through the borders, as we've seen happen?
Well, people, like I think the Deputy Premier said it this morning too, people must tell the truth. We need people to tell the truth. And now is not the time for Queenslanders to be going to Greater Sydney. Now is not the time for Queenslanders to be going to Victoria. And that's why we have that hard border closure with Victoria.
And
you
why
don't
is it
think it's an
necessary to
overreaction?
lock down aged care homes?
Oh, look, I absolutely support the Chief Health Officer, Dr. Young, when she made this suggestion. What we have seen in Victoria, we definitely do not want to see here in Queensland, and that's why we are acting swiftly to ensure that the areas in the south of Brisbane are actually being locked down, just to make sure in the next 24, 48 hours that there has been no contacts there. It is the right thing to do. I apologise for any inconvenience to families, but I know how families would be feeling if we did have the virus through the aged care facility. So this is the correct preemptive action to take, and I commend Dr. Young for that, for the swiftness in her advice.
So you
Senator
don't think it's an
Hawley Hughes,
overreaction?
Sorry?
So you don't think it's an overreaction?
It is
when there's
not.
only been 2 cases?
It is not an overreaction, because these two have been out in the community, and hopefully it has not spread, but time will tell. And that is why the quick action is being taken this morning. As soon as we have got all of the details following our phone hookup, the Deputy Premier and the Chief Health Officer did the press conference, and I've been kept in the loop every step of the way, and I've had further discussions before I've stood up here today in relation to Greater Sydney.
Senator Holly Hughes was at the Thai Rock restaurant, which is identified as a critical cluster in Sydney. She's due to chair the Parliamentary Committee on Autism in Brisbane on Friday. Is she welcome in the state, and should she be self-isolating? She was there for less than 2 hours, she said.
Look, that is a matter for New South Wales, if it was in the Thai restaurant in New South Wales. So we would have to get advice, but I'm happy to follow that up for you.
On
do you think it
Dreamworld,
undermines
Ardent
confidence
Leisure has pleaded
Sorry?
guilty. On Dreamworld, Ardent Leisure has pleaded guilty to workplace health and safety breaches. What's your reaction to that?
Look, these are matters that have. What happened at Dreamworld was an absolute tragedy, and I'm quite sure that the families want closure, but that is a matter for Dreamworld. So I don't want to comment on any further action that could be taken there.
How long will the
Senator
borders be
Hughes, do you
closed
think
for?
it undermines the confidence in leaders if politicians are not being extra cautious at the moment?
Everyone needs to be extra cautious. My whole team is extra cautious. The community should be extra cautious. And the way we can all go about that is to make sure that we are keeping up with our good hand hygiene, but also to make sure that we are keeping our social distancing. Social distancing is important.
How long will the borders be closed for?
Well, until community transmission is completely under control.